Hey guys, what's going on? It's yeah, no, we just have nothing that normally happens during the nest. Like we have nothing that, coincides. But hey, we're right before the Miners Grand Finals and I am excited. Today, I am joined by, let's see if I get the pointing right, Seoguli, Ereshkigal, and NanoRocket. I probably messed it up, but who cares? I have a dark face cam. Who cares? Let's just get this rolling. So real quick, I just have to ask you guys, how y'all doing today?
I'm all right. I'm
I'm
here.
pretty good. I'm alive.
I'm doing pretty well. Glad to be here.
All right, and we're glad to have you. And of course, we will be talking about the Miners Grand Finals. So we have the two big teams, of course. They were really fighting it out for the #1 spot most of the season, and that is Flashpoint and Otter Oxide, both with 17-3 records, incredible rosters, incredible coaching staff. But first, let's take a look at how they and the other teams ended the season. Let's take a quick look at our standings. So if we look at the Miners standings, we see Flashpoint did end in that first place with a 47 map differential. Otter Oxide, however, ended in second place with a 45 map differential, and I now realize we got that Pogu black screen.
Scuffed.
Alright, so don't worry. Well, you guys can just enjoy the beauty that is a black screen while we keep talking about the Owlet Miners. Oh, and apparently it is up now
It's up,
according
I
to
guess.
the one, the only, the Dire Void. There we go. Alright, so it was Flashpoint in first, Otter Oxide in second, TBA in third, Expandable Odyssey in fourth, Quantum Charge in fifth, and Echo 6 in sixth. However, if we look at these, that did then play into how all of the brackets were made. So Expandable Odyssey took on Quantum Charge in the quarterfinals, scraping it out with a win. TBA was able to beat Echo 6 as well. Then Flashpoint, the #1 seed, took on #4 seed Expandable Odyssey, where they were able to take the win and move on to the grand finals. Following that, last night, Otter Oxide barely came out with the win against TBA, and they solidified their spot in the grand finals, allowing us to see the #1 seed take on the #2 seed tonight at 9 p.m. So, both teams incredibly good, incredibly just spectacular runs throughout the whole season. Aresh, I have to ask you, what is it that made both of these teams just such strong contenders?
So for each of these teams, it has a lot to do with their diversity. They each can play a number of different comps. While looking through, while watching the matchup between Otter Oxide and TBA, you could see that Otter Oxide felt comfortable on uh, playing goats, playing dive, uh, playing the Sombra, playing the Widow, playing the Genji. They have a very diverse roster that knows how to play a lot of different heroes and play a lot of different comps comfortably together. Um, Flashpoint similarly knows their heroes very well and knows how to play them in different ways that the other teams might not have an entirely great time knowing how to go up against. So I think each of these teams are going to um, need to figure out how to make the other team go into a composition that's going to be beneficial for them.
Definitely, definitely. Of course, you always want to get the opponent on a composition that not only are they weak on, but you're strong against. And that's really how you end up winning. So, both Otter Oxide and Flashpoint going to be looking to do that. But real quick, let's take a look at the players and the coaching staff behind the #1 seed, the team that is Flashpoint. Flashpoint. They have incredibly strong roster. But first, I need to talk about their head coach, who the team has dubbed Father Risky. Um, that's quite an interesting name. I mean, I get that. Hey, I guess if you're a big brain, then you get to be called whatever you want, right?
Right.
And then their assistant coaches, they have Daddy Queklar, Danger Noodle, and Ubi Pro. And hey, clearly they're doing their job, but they ended at a 17-3 record. Seoguli, how does having good coaches really play into doing well as a team?
Honestly, I'd say if the coaches can come up with big brain strats, that's already a plus. They help with positioning, help up clean up errors in their play, so that if say someone's not excelling at this role, that's the coach's job to point it out and help the player feel more comfortable on said hero, said comp, said whatever. And they help out with strategies, how you're gonna execute them and everything.
Definitely, definitely. Now, there is quite a bit of hype surrounding both teams, but this is what Flashpoint has to say about their own team. They say that their main tank, Piper, is equal to Bumper of the Vancouver Titans in the Overwatch League. They say that Father Risky is the best coach in minors, and that their Pharah one trick is, and I quote, better than Otter Oxide's Pharah one trick. So, I mean, hey, they'll have to prove that in the matchup tonight. But now, we did talk a little bit there. We were talking about some Pharah one tricks, but let's go ahead and talk about the DPS players on Flashpoint. NanoRocket, who are they, and what makes them so good?
See, Serenato's like a really good Pharah as well. Like we talked about it. Like it's pretty much gonna be the battle of the Pharahs, I think. But also you can't ignore Boots. Their Widow. He's probably one of the best in minors right now. And it's gonna be really hard for Otters to fight against both their Widow and their Pharah, I think, with the Pharah of their own. So I think in order for Otters to win this, they might have to go either double hit scan to fight it or just try and fight goats into it. I don't think it's just gonna be really hard for Otters to go against the DPS of Flashpoint.
Definitely, but we have seen Otter Oxide run some interesting comps in the past, we'll say. I mean, we saw that, like, Bastion Tor pirate ship composition on Junkertown. I believe they were the first team to run a Torbjorn in Owlet, if I'm not mistaken, or at least Owlet Miners. So, that's
Maybe.
pretty interesting to talk about for sure. Now then, they did real quick. Both Flashpoint and Otter Oxide are 1-1 in their matchup. So they both won one, and both of the scores then were 3-1. But now as we go in to the grand finals tonight, it really comes down to, are you able to play the comps you want to play? And as you mentioned, NanoRocket, Flashpoint, incredibly strong DPS, meaning that Otter Oxide probably wants to play on maps where maybe you don't have as high of a ceiling, where FARs are much more limited. But if we look at our map pool, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe it is as follows: Lijiang Tower, Rialto, Hanamura, Kings Row, Busan, Paris, and I'm missing one. Yo, Twitch chat, you guys want to save me before I meme myself?
Did you say root?
Route
I did not say
66,
Route
right?
66. That is it. Thank you. So we look at these maps, and Lijiang Tower, Rialto, Busan, Route 66. I mean, those are some pretty high ceiling maps, right?
And just like long sightlines too.
Exactly. You're gonna be able to get plenty of value as a far. But I mean, Otter Oxide, they've clearly got some stuff to show. I mean, they have some pretty spectacular hit scan DPS. Sia, you care to comment?
I'd say Boots did give me a run for my money. Um, Brutal I've known since E6. Um, he's good. Boots is really good. Bird's really good at Widow. I feel like this could be also a Widow duel waiting to happen. Like Widow's can't find the words. Like
1v1.
controlling the pace.
Definitely. And of course, you get that pick with the Widow from a headshot, well, you're up. It's a 6v5, and as we know from playing Overwatch, 6v5s tend to give you the big advantage.
Oh yeah.
Now,
I do think
keep going, yeah?
I do think that this matchup is going to be very much dependent on making space for each of the team's DPS players and taking advantage of when those tanks are out of position. So those Widow battles are definitely going to be a big part of this.
Definitely. And according to a C Ronaldo 727, Risky, or sorry. I have to call him by his proper name. Father Risky is letting them play a Bastion Sim Tor Baptiste bunker composition today. So that'll be interesting to see for sure. Um, Now, we talked about the Flashpoint roster a lot. Let's go ahead and talk about the Otter Oxide roster, because they definitely are not without their star players. So the Otter Oxide roster has head coach Skippy and assistant coach Amerikuyu, if I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, who led them to as well a 17-3 record, but they did end up losing 2 more maps than Flashpoint. Some interesting facts about them. They played against Quantum Charge, who were formerly known as the Steamrollers in a previous tournament, and placed second in the GG Overwatch Arena, another tournament, in case you guys didn't know.
RIP and P Steamrollers.
Yes, you are a former Steamrollers member, I guess, since you're not a
Yes.
Quantum Charge. Alrighty, so their roster is made up of Pie Ninja, Xavier EXE, Bull of Bulls, a disappointment, aka Massive, who is not on this show because, he just had to go ahead and win his semifinals match. So, I got stuck with these losers for some
Come
reason.
on.
Wow, dude.
Oh wow. See how it is.
Always come in second place to Otter.
Alright, they were followed up. They also have Bird, Brutalone23, Sakura, Famsu, Litcat, and Rudolph on their roster. And before I go any further, I have been asked to give a quick mention to Otter Oxide's sister team that they just recently made, Seal Sulfide. Any questions about them should be sent to Massive on Discord. Yeah, I had to give him a shout out, Now, Otter Oxide, not without, of course, their amazing, incredible star players, but in my opinion, we heard that, according to Flashpoint, Piper is equal to Bumper in terms of his skill, and tanks do play a huge part in this. And like you said, Aresh, it's really going to be about forcing those tanks out of position. So who does not want to be forced out of position on Otter Oxide? Nano
No.
or Aresh? Sorry.
Yeah, Nano, go for it.
Forced out of position. I would say. I mean, you kind of want to keep. I don't know, really. I mean, Brutal. You can't really. I feel like it's either they have to pressure him, or else Otters isn't gonna. Or wait, what am I doing? I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry.
It's
So,
alright.
What was
It's
the question
alright.
again? I like lost my mind for a
What
second.
key tank players on Otter Oxide are gonna be trying to not be forced out of position,
Oh.
and how are they gonna be able to do that?
They need to keep Bull of Bulls. Like, they can't let him get destroyed by Flashpoint at all. Like, he's probably one of their main carries, I would say, over with Brutal. It's like, if Bull of Bulls and Pine Ninja are able to stay where they need to be and not get rolled or not get, like, pushed out of position by Flashpoint, our sides could run away with this, I would say.
Definitely. Now, wait, I just realized I got baited by Ronaldo, didn't I? Baptiste isn't
Yeah,
available.
Baptiste isn't available.
Oh,
Please-
I was
why
waiting for
do
you
you
to
guys let
realize.
me do this?
Because
I
I
was just
wanted
gonna
to,
let you run with it.
embarrass you.
Pepe ham. Alrighty then. But of course, Otter Oxide, as we said, Bull of Bulls. Definitely someone to be keeping an eye out, along with the rest of their roster, to be honest. And I'm really interested to see how both teams adapt to the meta, whether they choose to run these goats in 3-2-1 compositions, or if we just see a classic 2-2-2. Seoguli, you've played against them quite a bit. What do they like to run? What is their strong suit?
Who? Flashpoint?
Otter Oxide.
Oh, Otter Oxide. I'd say 222 is easily their strongest. Like their strongest comp. However, I know that they've been practicing goats a lot. But I definitely do think that they look the strongest on their 222.
Definitely. Now then, both teams had an incredibly tough journey here, which we already mentioned. They actually both went up against your teams. Or actually, no, sorry, no, they didn't. Flashpoint went up against both. No, only Expandable Odyssey. I just can't read. I can't read a bracket. You know what? I should just leave. Baptiste is in playoffs now, apparently, according to me.
Can we start a
Flashpoint
vote to
played
pick
Quantum
Prez?
Charge.
is our
Yeah,
show now.
hashtag kick Frez in Twitch chat. Please no.
Please no.
Please no. So, Seoguli, I have to ask this to you because you did just recently play them 2 nights ago, if I'm not mistaken. What do they like to run?
They
comps
like to run. They like to run the Pharah, obviously.
Obviously.
They like to run the Widow. I feel like Ash is more effective on. I mean, Boots was more effective on Ash. Like they ran a lot of Widow Pharah and Ash Pharah with the Sombra mixed in there at some points. They did run goats when they had to. Piper solo ulted me, so that was fun. And then, but I mean, I got grab off him, so I'm fine with it. They did run goats when they needed to. They were very I felt like they were pretty aggro for the most part.
Alrighty.
They look the strongest on 222 as well.
Alrighty. Now, of course, both teams certainly very strong. I mean, you can't be weak if you made it to the grand finals. That's kind of like a prerequisite. But before we go any further, our lovely Direboyd, the man, the myth, the legend, the producer himself, the bird, went ahead and made us a little video a little hype video for Owlet. So let's go ahead and take a look at that before we go any further.
Oh, hello, I am Cheese Nips, and I am nano boosted,
Yes.
and I am here to kill you, and meet my Diva Bomb.
Self-destruct.
Oh!
And it finds 5!
Oh
Expandable Odyssey.
my god.
A lot of ults pop simultaneously. It's genuinely difficult to see who's
Bomb gets sent in, they have control of the point! Bomb gets sent off! Viper got 5!
and because of the Diva Bomb at the point! They all got off the point because they were afraid of the Diva Bomb!
Environmental kills would be the name of the game, supposedly.
Yeah. It is interesting that Wisdom decided to run this without a Roadhog. You traditionally see that.
Wow.
Oh, but the early...
Oh my god!
Oh!
Chaos getting his shield broken right away, and Commander Huey with the huge 3k boop into the well.
Delicious is absolutely insane on main tank. Look at this Winston.
A lot of presence here on point.
Paper's torn!
Oh no! Paper's torn, unfortunately!
I'm joined by Massive, I'm being yelled at by Silent, I'm probably angering the admin somewhere, so that means it's the Nest.
So Splatoon and Overwatch are essentially the same game. The goal to have the most amount of space control, and only really kill people because they're encroaching on your space. Put that in your books.
But the Shatter comes in, misses everybody, and they're pushing the Reinhardt out in space right now. Now they're all getting booped off. Bullables is getting booped off. This is the best fight right here. This is what we wanted, people.
Sound barrier on the side of Wisdom will keep a lot of people topped up, but there comes the counter sound barrier.
Oh, but they ate both! They ate both ults! Are you kidding me?
Oh my god, the grab in the mail!
Oh my god!
Oh my god, Greg!
Oh, true!
The madman! You can't do this to me! I have a weak heart! 2 dinks already!
Oh my goodness!
Shed with the triple kill to try to save it. Is he gonna be able to do it?
Shed did it!
Oh my god, Shed! Wow!
They have to play so tight right now. They can't afford. I'm getting sweaty now.
Yeah,
I wasn't before.
Yeah, this is.
But now I'm getting sweaty.
This is real sweat territory, people.
So, as we saw, there are some wonderful fights from both teams. Or not both teams, sorry, all the teams here in Owlet. Of course, Oxide and Flashpoint both had their moments then. And, I mean, those were quite a few environmental kills I think we saw there. Like, we saw the 3-man concussion blast from Commander Huey. We saw that crazy Orisa pull. We saw some boops there in that space fight. That was just lots of environmental kills. And speaking of environmental kills, maps are very important when you want to just play the game in general, but especially when you're looking at how to play it. So, Eresh, how do the different maps we have play into different teams' favors?
Yeah, so if you watch the Otter Oxide semi-final match, you could see that. Actually, it was the Flashpoint semifinals match. You could see that Surfy liked playing the Winston on Lijiang Tower Night Market, and there he used the Winston to, I think, smack 4 people off of the map in one primal rage. So you can see a lot of that on there. Pharah is going to be a big hero on Lijiang Tower Gardens, and Rialto. There's always somebody going into the water on Rialto.
When is there not?
So
I
I
mean,
think-
you're a Lucio main yourself, aren't you?
Well, flex support, so a bit of this, a bit of that. So.
But you played Lucio in
More or
our
less.
scrim.
Alright, so yeah. Alrighty. So, definitely a lot of talent in both the rosters are going to be looking to use the environment to their advantage. But now we have to talk about Seoguli and NanoRocket. You've both played against them. So I'll give this first question to CO. What is Flashpoint's biggest weakness? What does Otter Oxide have to force them onto?
They have to shut down Ronaldo, I'd say.
Shut
First
down
thing.
Ronaldo and they'll win the
First
fight.
thing. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that's a pretty big order for Otter Oxide, but
Yeah.
when you have so much faith on one man,
The only problem
it
is
might
like
crumble under the pressure.
they could shut down Ronaldo, but then they have to worry about Boots coming and swinging. You know.
That's true. That is true. Now, NanoRocket, I'm going to ask you the same question, but for Otter Oxide. What is Otter Oxide's biggest weakness?
I don't know. They have really good teamwork in their in Otter. Like they work really well together. I just worried about Otter getting just out mechanicked by Flashpoint because Flashpoint is a very, very mechanically talented team.
Definitely, they are indeed. Now, Aresh, I have to ask you.
Go for it.
Now, I hate to bring this up, but the 3-17 VMT record was a pretty interesting one. And funnily enough, both Flashpoint and Otter Oxide are 17-3.
Oh.
You know, I think
You're just
we
trying to
had,
make her feel bad.
I have to
we had
ask.
5 wins. I'm pretty sure we had 5 wins.
You had 5 wins. Maybe I'm thinking of Expandable Academy. I could be wrong.
I think you're looking at Expandable.
But I have to ask, do
yeah.
you think that Flashpoint and Otter Oxide could beat the teams in the Majors division?
You know, we actually had a scrim against Expandable Odyssey about a week ago at this point. And that scrim was very close. Now we hadn't had any practices since the end of the season then. But that being said, Expandable Odyssey gave us a run for our money. I mean, we were working with the new main tanks too, so that could have also played into things. But they actually took the first 3 maps of the scrim off of us. I think in the past we also scrimmed against TBA, and while they couldn't take any maps off of us, each of the maps were relatively close, considering the majors minors divide. So I think any of these playoff teams from minors could stand a chance against some of the lower rung majors teams, and considering how a lot of the lower rung majors teams gave a lot of the upper echelon majors teams a run for their money in their matches, you know, these 2 conferences aren't that far apart.
Definitely. Alrighty. Now then, thank you for that, Aresh. Now, I do have to ask, we're talking about conferences not being that far apart. Of course, we do have the decently large divide in SR. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 700?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think the average for minors is gold/plat, if I'm not mistaken. So I have to ask Seoguli and NanoRocket, other than Ronaldo, because we've mentioned him a lot with his Pharah, who, for UCO, who can you not sleep on Flashpoint? Who do you think is going to surprise everybody there?
Honestly, I think Surfy.
Surfy.
Yeah, if he can, if he can pull it off, and Surfy or Piper, whichever main tank they have, I feel like the main tank could easily.
All right. So Otter Oxide, you better watch out for those main tanks. Now, NanoRocket, I'm going to ask you the same question for Otter Oxide. Who can you not sleep on the team, Otter Oxide?
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I've mentioned Brutal a lot. Brutal is really good, but I feel like they just can't really either sleep on Bola Bowls or Pine Ninja. Actually, I'm gonna go with Pine Ninja. Pine Ninja is a very, very good off tank, and I think they need to watch out for what they can do.
Definitely, and of course, in this meta, there are plenty of off tanks if we do get to see some goats. But you know, I've heard a lot of talk from the minors division. Apparently, you guys don't like running goats that much.
No, please.
CO hates goats.
I'm having
Is that a bit too much Zarya, CO?
Listen,
I'm having flashbacks.
I don't have to play Zarya. I get to play Diva.
I have my own problems with her. But anyway, so we've talked about who. What
this
is
is my face now.
Oh, is that just Zarya? That's it. We just get to see Zarya the whole time. All right, CO. All right, so we talked about a bunch of different things for both the teams, but we haven't talked about the most important part. Who's gonna win it all? Seoguli, who do you have? And what's the map score?
I think Otter. What is it? It's first
best
to
of
4,
7.
right?
Yeah, first to 4, best of 7.
I think Otter could. I think it could go down to the last map 4-3 Otter.
4-3 Otter, Nano.
I think I'm just going to say it's going to be. I think it's also going to be 4-3, but I think it's Flashpoint that's going to end up winning it.
Flashpoint. All right, Eresh, you want to break the tie?
I'm pretty sure I put in my bracket submission that I had Otter Oxide winning 4-3 over Expandable Odyssey. And even though Expandable Odyssey isn't any longer in it, I still see that same score holding place with Flashpoint in the 3 spot instead.
4-3 Otters. Interesting. And yeah, I mean, I gotta trust the rest here because I mean, her bracket it had FU winning it all, and I mean, you just can't go wrong with FU, you know.
You know, both of my winning teams are still in it, so let's hope it remains true.
Yes, let's hope so. Now, NanoRocket, you're all alone in that Flashpoint territory. Defend yourself.
I don't know. There's a reason why Otters has come in second place in every tournament they've been in.
Ooh,
sorry, that's just little
lame.
Wow.
But no, I just think if it comes down to mechanics, I think Flashpoint's just going to carry it out. But I don't know. Otters does play very well together. I mean, I don't know. I just think Flashpoint's just going to be better. Paco is really good. Surfy's a great tank. Got Boots and Ronaldo there. I don't know. It just seems like a hard team to beat.
Alrighty, that's fair. That is fair. Seoguli, why is he wrong?
Because he's just wrong. It's as simple as that.
Dang.
Dang, dude.
Alrighty then. So we've had all the hot takes from our casters. Twitch chat, who do you think is going to win it? Post it right now, Otter Oxide or Flashpoint. Let us know what you think. But in the meantime, we've heard from the minors players. We've heard from our lovely staff members / resident sleeper in the minors. I don't know. Eresh just knows stuff, all right? I just know Eresh wanted doing standard deviation for new Owlet, and I'm just like, nah, I'm out of here.
Come on, gotta get that math in here.
Please no.
Please.
All right, so I'm taking a quick look at the Twitch chat, and it does look like we have a bit more people with Flashpoint, although I'm also seeing some Echo 6 and TVA wins. So
Massive thinks E6 is going to win.
Yeah, Massive thinks E6 is winning.
I'm gonna have to agree with Massive on this. I think E6. You know, they're a good team.
Don't sleep on
Yeah.
E6.
Yeah.
And Sia thinks Liquor Swift's gonna win, so who knows? We're just gonna see Top Mika just roll in and be like, "What's up?"
Got my top energy here.
Exactly.
No, but in all honesty, I think it's going to come down to the support line and the tank line, and we're going to just have to see who can create the most space.
Definitely. Now this is our last official minors match. Sadly, we will be seeing the All-Star game in a couple weeks, but I have to ask you guys, what was your favorite minors matchup to play in or watch?
I mean, for me, I would say it would either have to be. It was either where we beat Flashpoint, because to be honest, I have no idea how we did it.
I mean, you beat the top 3 teams. Like,
yeah,
we
just came out and did it. For some reason, we could never beat Expo. Don't know what it was about them. We just could never do anything with them.
You think if they were like higher seeded, you could beat them?
Maybe it's just because they're right above us. So that was the issue. I don't know, but I do think either the match against Flashpoint where we won, or the match against Otters, because it was very close on all 5 maps. I think it came down to on Busan. It was they had a cap on one point, we had a cap on the other point. It just came down to the last point. So it was very, very close against the Otters match.
Really, already. So, Seoguli, what was your favorite match to play in or watch?
Quarterfinals versus QC.
Alrighty, that was it's an interesting take to say the least.
I wonder why.
I wonder why as well.
I wonder why.
Couldn't imagine.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And finally, Eresh, you haven't partook in the minors division, but what was your favorite match to watch, or at least hear the hype about?
Okay, so I'll be honest here and say that of the minors matches, I've really only watched the quarterfinals and semifinal matches, which is why I didn't put my vote in for All Stars for minors. Gotta stay impartial here. But I will say that I really want to watch those last 2 Licorice Whip matches, because I heard that they're some of the best matches this season.
I think it's just the most hype because it came down to either one of those last 2. I think they both like a 3-2.
Yeah, they were both 3-2.
Yeah,
I'd also be up for watching some of those, a couple of those last Echo 6 matches too, because I think those were also 3-2 and also clinched their spot in the playoffs. So, any of those like last 2 weeks, last week matches I would love to go back and watch.
Alrighty, so these last few weeks have definitely. I mean, hey, everything rode on them, especially for teams like Blazing Pegasus and Echo 6, especially Echo 6, who just barely clawed their way in. Now we are getting close to wrapping up, but before we do that, All-Star, I mentioned All-Star match is in a couple weeks. You don't have to tell me your roster, but Cio, I'll ask Cio and Nano here because Eresh, you and I didn't play in it, so
no, unfortunately not.
What player did you think of, and you're just like, I would never want to go against them? Who is your minors Owlet MVP? That isn't yourself, of course.
Me.
The alternate
ego of me. The alternate ego of me. No, in all honesty, probably try Amatar.
Good
Amatar.
Mine would be either ice. I think mine's Ice Tea Drink. My main tank. He's really, really good, and he's just so aggressive. I would just hate to be on the other side of him.
Alrighty, so you guys are voting for Try Amatar and Ice Tea Drink. Interesting. I'm sure you guys put them on your Alpha. I think it's called Alpha. I haven't done my All-Star voting yet. Don't judge
Bravo,
me.
and Charlie teams. Yeah.
Alright, so I'm sure you guys voted
Alpha,
them.
Bravo, and bottom.
Oof. Alrighty then. So definitely an interesting thing to note. So we're about to wrap it up. We've talked about their predictions. We talked about their All-Stars. We've talked about everything there is to talk about. But I do have one final question. What do you think is going to be the closest map? What map are viewers just going to hold their breath on and wonder what's going to happen?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
I want to say, I think Rialto's gonna be pretty close because it's
I
got.
want to say Paris.
Paris. I mean, this will be the first time we're seeing a new
Rialto
map.
would be close, I think. I
Alrighty.
think Rialto is
So
definitely.
basically, got Twitch chat. We just
You
need
just cut off
Oxide and
Nano.
Flashpoint to not 4-0. Like as long as they don't 4-0, we're seeing Paris.
Yeah, and I
Even
think
though everyone
along those
hates that
same
map.
lines,
Everyone hates
President's
that
I think
map.
cutting
along
off
those-
everyone.
along those same lines, I think if the match makes it as far as Route 66, that's going to be the closest map because it's a great Winston map, and these teams both have great Winstons.
Definitely. Now that is just about all the time we have for today. Seoguli, Nano, Eresh, any final words?
I'm just gonna hit
Vote
the
for
dab.
me in All Stars.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, take a look at some of those lower standings teams and vote for players on there because
I wonder who you could possibly be mentioning.
Yeah. Vote to
I'm
All-Stars.
mentioning Olderwatch. Olderwatch had some great players. Licorice Whip has some great players.
Definitely not VMT though.
I mean, you can go back and watch some of our matches and vote for us, but I mean, I also like a lot of the players on a lot of the teams that we played against who are ended up in the lower rungs of standings. So.
Definitely. Alrighty, well, I do hope you all did enjoy this episode of The Nest. I was joined by Seoguli, Ereshkigal, and NanoRocket. Good luck to both Flashpoint and Oxide. You can catch them on the twitch.tv/broadcastgg at 9 p.m. EST, which is in exactly 1 hour and 39 minutes. Thank you to Direboy for producing and providing us that lovely Owlet hype video. Thank you to Dr. Drengus for making us those wonderful graphics. And thank you to you yourself, Eresh, actually, for providing the tournament standings throughout the whole season. And everyone just give yourself a round of applause. We've made it! We are at the Myers Grand Finals, and we will see you guys at 9 p.m. on Broadcast GG. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.